Welcome to the Positive Pants Podcast. Mindset, motivation, and inspiration to help you find your positive pants. Let go of negative thinking and stop living for the weekend. With your host, Fran Excel.
So welcome to the show. As always, it's Fran Excel Mindset Coach, helping you find your very own pair of positive pants so you can get out of your own way and live a life that you love. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm very grateful you've chosen to put me in your earbuds today. Please do hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything, and do leave me a review. I love reading them, and it really helps me get found by other people who need to hear what I share. I'd also love you to email me your mindset and productivity questions or topics you'd love me to cover to hello@franexcel.com, because I know a lot of you think I'm inside your heads because you tell me all the time. But if I don't know what you need, I can't give it to you. So let me know. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the bonus Bounce Back series, and today I have a glorious woman for you who's going to give you her wonderful story of inspiration, hope, motivation, and generally make you feel wonderful because she is glorious. The lovely Nicky Booton. Please introduce yourself, my love.
Hey, hi Fran, hi everybody. I'm Nicky Booton. I run Nicky Booton Coaching as a self-esteem and empowerment coach.
We've done a little bit of work together before,
yes,
which is how I know how glorious you are. And one of the things that I was super impressed by was the fact that I put out on my Insta stories what I was looking for, the kind of people I was looking to interview for this. And you just hit me up in the DM.
I was so cheeky. Cheekiest moment.
The lesson in that is kind of, if you just do what comes to you in the moment, doesn't matter if it feels cheeky, then you may get what you want.
And look at me now.
So please tell everybody, what your story is, kind of what brings you to me now.
So a lot brings me to you.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff in my past that if it wasn't for all of that, I wouldn't be here talking to you now, quite simply. So I had a bit of an unhappy divorce, as divorces always are, but it was a bit of a trial. Different things went on in and around that divorce, physical, emotional abuse, and struggling through that. Having already been a sufferer of postnatal depression in the past, I kind of spiraled down into that little rabbit hole of blackness again for a while. And there was a lot of things that there was a lot of things that kind of went on the way. The fear of, losing my home, losing my kids, losing my job, all of that kind of stuff spiraled. And ultimately, I did have counselling along the way, which was amazing, helped me get through those moments and process everything. And then found a coach, had some coaching, and that changed everything. Everything.
So back then, it's so hard when you're in those moments and you're feeling, especially as, I've talked a little bit before on the podcast about when I struggled in my late teens, early 20s with an emotionally abusive partner, and the damage that can do to you in the long run when you don't understand about the unconscious mind and about these beliefs that then become kind of part of who you are. Tell us a little bit about you don't have to go too deep, obviously. Tell us a little bit about how it used to make you feel, like what actually happened. What was that defining moment for you where you were like, no, enough is enough. I get to change this, and I'm going to change this.
I think for me, I'd always had low self-esteem, low self-confidence. I was bullied in school, and that to me was just kind of normal. At that age, I just figured that was who I was. I didn't think much of myself, never sort of fit in. And then going through that experience and then finding the coach and working through those things with her, learning about NLP and, like you say, the subconscious mind and the damage that's done in the background that can stay with you for so much longer than things like physical abuse, not to diminish either as more difficult than the other. But I think they just reached a point where I know I can change this. I've been so out of control and reacting to everything through fear rather than proactively, right, what can I do? What can I do? I can't control that. I can't control that person's behavior, but what can I do? What can I do with it? And at that moment, realizing I had more power in me than I believed historically, that's when everything shifted.
Mm. And it's that thing, and I know there's no distinction to be made between, you know, physical abuse and emotional abuse.
No.
But the bottom line here is trauma.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I really want people to understand when they're listening to this series is that everybody goes through their own stuff. There is no trauma that is bigger to one person than another. You know, it's not about comparison. It's not about, you know, oh, well, you're in a worse situation than I am, so I can't complain about it. Trauma is trauma in the mind and in the body. Bottom line, it doesn't matter what it is. So the main message is that whoever you are listening, whatever you're going through, no matter how small, no matter how big, it will affect you physiologically in the same way. And that's something that needs to be recognized. There's all these amazing things like when you're looking at perspective, and that is a great thing to hold on to, but also giving yourself a little bit of a break and acknowledging that trauma is trauma.
Absolutely. And I think my best friend who I wouldn't have met had I not gone through that, she was probably the first person to get that message into me. The amount of times I was comparing to other people, you've got it so much worse than I have, I don't know why I'm so upset, don't know why I'm struggling so much. And it was her, she was the first person to say to me, do you know what, you feel how you feel, feelings are there, they're real, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, you can't compare to other people because that's how it is for you. And again, as soon as you accept that and let those feelings flow and then work with them, it becomes so much easier.
So when you were working with the coach and everything along those lines, what was the biggest thing that changed for you through the process?
I value me. I value me, I respect me, and I started at that point. I mean, I'm pretty great. I actually like myself. I love myself now, and I never thought I would say those kind of things because it always felt arrogant. It always felt like a lie. But she got me believing that I was equal to everybody else, and as soon as I felt equal to everybody else, well, if that person deserves that, then why can't I? And that was where it started. That was where that journey started.
And it's a huge realization as well, because we get so bogged down, and the main thing I'm always talking about is the fact that 95 to 99% of everything that we do is driven by all these beliefs and these fears and all these things that are programmed into our habitual thinking and our unconscious minds that just dictate literally everything that we do. And when we just accept them as fact and we don't challenge them, that's why things stay where they are. And I suppose the first thing for you, the first piece of the puzzle in that path, I love my P's, don't I? Was actually investing in a coach, wasn't it? Because at the end of the day, the last thing that we tend to prioritize is ourselves. Absolutely. And making that change and just investing that, like you say, investing that time, investing that money just in me, that felt quite self-absorbed at the time. And, you know, I've got my kids to look after and I need to make sure that they're okay. But you know what? I'm just going to take this time out for me, an hour a week for a few weeks. And it was life-changing. And now you help other ladies go through the same process.
Yes, it's the best thing. It just led to so many different things in my personal life, but more with the business as well. I'd always known I wanted to help people. Working in the NHS, I kind of do that during the day, but I wanted more and I wanted to work with people individually. And I think coaching is something that I've always done naturally without realizing what I was doing. And like I say, working with her, that was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do. And as soon as I've started, that's it. I was born for this. I absolutely love it. It's
like a penny drop moment, isn't it?
Yes, massive.
Yeah, massive. But until you can learn to listen for those little penny drop moments, you miss them.
Absolutely.
You ignore them. You hear them. And you ignore them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were just talking before about the phrase "everything happens for a reason."
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it when it's used. You know, when somebody's struggling with something, and somebody else will say quite well-meaningly, "Everything happens for a reason," and sometimes that can feel like a bit of a kick in the nuts when actually everything just feels bad. And how dare you say it's happening for a reason? But I think there is something in that as long as you do something with it afterwards. It's about how you choose to respond to that. And like you say, when you see those opportunities coming up that are always there, but you miss them because you're just in a little tunnel, just on your own way. And then as soon as you start letting those opportunities in and just going with them, like messaging you very cheekily on Instagram, look what happens.
I asked for it though.
I know you did.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is like for context, what we were talking about before is I've got everything happens for a reason tattooed on me in Latin. But the reason for that is it's really, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, is how I live my life. But the way, because this is the other thing, and in NLP you learn about this, like the way I think about something and the way I take something on is going to be different to the next person. So my way of looking at everything happens for a reason is, look, just trust that something good can come from this if you choose to look for it, if you choose to find it, and if you choose to make it happen. So everything happens for a reason for me is like, okay, there's going to be some great lessons that I can learn here. Being open to the potential positives in the future, even though you're acknowledging that right now it's a bit, I always try not to swear on these because Apple penalize you. No swear words. You know, and it's just that, it's being open to it. And because I've lived through these things so many times now, I know it to be true for me. But I also know that I always choose to find a potential positive, and I will look for it in the moment. I say, look, you know, right now feels pants. It's not great. However, I get to choose how I react to it, and I get to choose what I will take from it and how I can potentially turn it into a positive. So it's just that critical thinking.
Absolutely. And it works every time. Every time. And it might take a moment, don't get me wrong, I have my moments of wallowing or feeling sorry for myself, and sometimes I need that. I allow it for an evening, and then it's like, right, come on, up you get, what you're gonna do. And like, you know, like you talk about so many times, what can I control? Everything might feel out of control for a minute, but what can I control? And as soon as you come back into that, you can change anything.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Sometimes you do just need a little sushi roll into the duvet. Sometimes it's your body's way of literally just telling you just need to slow down. It's like when I was saying before, when I had my operation, I thought to myself, because I'm a little bit of a workaholic, you know, I thrive off having lots to do, and I love it, and all of that sort of thing. I'm like, ooh, extra time, how wonderful. And I kind of thought to myself, I'm going to take a few days, because I know that general anesthetic doesn't affect me that well. I get really emotional.
Yes, I do.
So emotional. I feel like I cried for a solid 2 weeks. But the nice thing is, you know, doing the kind of things that we do, it means I can take a step back from it and acknowledge the feelings for what they are, and know that I'm not going crazy. But I genuinely thought I would take, you know, 3 or 4 days, Netflix, don't do anything, enjoy my pajama party, and then I would sit on the sofa and do some work and take advantage and like, you know, go through old courses that I hadn't done. I'm like, this is great. My body would not let me work for 2 straight weeks. It was infuriating until I surrendered. And this is the thing, is sometimes it is your body's way, and this is the thing with procrastination as well, it's your body's way of saying, look, you need to slow down. And then what that's actually allowed me to do is go into lockdown, because this was literally the 2 weeks before lockdown. So I've been at home since the 5th of March. But now I feel like I'm on absolute fire, because I really allowed myself to take that time. You know, those
it makes such a difference, doesn't it? Yeah. I used to fight them, like you say, they were infuriating, and I used to fight it and think, oh, for goodness sake, you know, you've come out of this, you've experienced so much worse, what are you doing? And the minute I thought, right, I obviously need that release somewhere along the line, so I'd literally allow myself an evening, watch. I've got a favorite film that I go back to that I know will just set the tears off, have my little moment.
What is it?
And then it's the second Mamma Mia film.
Love it.
Makes me cry every single time.
That's the thing, that's an important thing to actually notice. Like, the fact that you do something that will make you cry is a really, really good thing, because so many people try and hold it back. This is the amount of times I have discovery calls with people and they're crying and they're like, I'm so sorry. Let it out, this is good, talk about it more. Let it all out. And it's brilliant that you do that. And actually, it's a little tip for everybody listening, that when you are feeling like that, get something that's going to allow you to have that release. Like if I ever need a good cry, my shower's the go-to place. Like, right, okay, here it comes.
I've got a little plaque by my bed. Laughter is the best medicine, but tears are truly healing. Yeah. And that, I think, is absolutely true. Absolutely true. For me, especially, I'm an emotional person. So yeah, it's going to come out at some point, but it's just about how much do I fight it before I let it go.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is people really, really do try and fight it. And actually, and this is one of the things we talk about in my mastermind a lot, when they're kind of like, oh, you know, I shouldn't be feeling, there's no should or shouldn't.
No should or shouldn't. Yeah. Trauma
is trauma, and it's about allowing yourself to feel the feelings. There's a couple of episodes actually that I did because I used to get asked all the time, like, are you positive? Like literally all the time. I can't believe that you were ever a negative person. And I'm like, oh my God, I was seriously ill on a bad day. But it doesn't mean I don't have those moments now, but it's just how I handle them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and it's all learned responses. And the thing is with people like us, is when you do go through big things, you learn this almost the long and hard way. And actually, the people listening can kind of learn from our tips or our wins and our mistakes, which is probably a really good one to talk about. What would you say really didn't work for you when you were in that hole, the pit of despair?
Not talking to anybody, feeling ashamed, feeling like everything was my fault and I couldn't speak to anybody. That was the biggest thing. If I'd have spoken up sooner, things might have changed sooner, but I just hid away because I was ashamed, just believed everything that I'd been told, believed all the negatives about me, and just thought, this is what I deserve, this is, you know, I had this coming, I'm not going to talk to anybody because I'm too embarrassed, too ashamed.
Yeah.
The minute I spoke out, changed.
And that's the thing with shame is one of the number one things that makes us hide away from our emotions, hide away from other people, hide away from actually sorting them.
Yeah.
And it's the most cathartic thing that you can do, even when you share it with one person and you realize, oh my goodness, so many people go through this stuff, so many people have these same feelings. Because no matter what the trauma is, it's almost like it's the same process that people go through.
Yeah.
The shame, the embarrassment, the awkwardness, the feeling of failure, or the fear of what's going to happen when you speak out.
Absolutely. That they were the biggest things that held me back for such a long time.
How long do you think you stayed there for?
The separation started in early 2012. I didn't come across coaching until 2016, and I think for much of that time I was still hiding quite a lot away. I'd spoken to my best friend, but there was still so much that fear was running everything, fear and shame just running everything.
And that's the thing, is when somebody has intentionally told you certain things about yourself, and I don't know if it was obviously not the same experience that we've had, is the manipulation, that feeling of how can I let myself be spoken to like this, but then at the same time you just take it all on, or if they're saying it must be true.
I know the amount of times you hear, why didn't you just leave, or why didn't you do that, or why didn't you do that? It's easy from an outsider's perspective, but I was married very young. To me, everything that was happening was just normal. It was just normal. And then, like you say, 6 months down the line, I'd never said the word abuse. I'd never, because abuse is so much bigger than what I went through, and it doesn't relate to me at all. And that word was just like, no, I can't possibly, no, absolutely not. That's not what happened to me. And then you get further along and you think, how on earth did I let this go on for such a long time? What a worse.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But there was, I mean, I'm, you know, I think there's a process to go through, and looking back, you get to that point of, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not that big. And then you go to, God, I was such a wuss and such a coward, blah, blah, blah. And then you come out towards the end and you think, actually, do you know what? It wasn't about me. It was another person's behavior.
Yeah.
That was it.
And it's what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, literally my brain is just fried. It's manipulation. The long and short of it is it's manipulation in terms of, you know, keeping you in your place, making sure that you don't have the self-esteem to be able to leave, you know. And often you find in situations like that, particularly with emotional abuse, is well, and physical as well, actually, you know, where it gets to the point where they can feel that you're starting to get a little bit stronger, so they'll be nicer. You know, it's almost like that. I'm going to take one step forward, and then they're going to go, oh, okay, I'm going to meet you right there. That was certainly my experience.
Mine was the opposite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, mine.
Tell me more.
That loss of control.
Yeah.
Just ramped everything up every single time. And I should say, this year, my ex-husband and I have quite a good relationship now.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, considering what it was. And it was bad until sort of beginning of January, and then reached a point of, right, we're just going to sit down. And it was me that made that decision. Right, we're just going to come together, sit down. What is going on? And I had to put myself in that place of being vulnerable and opening up and saying, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, this is what I'm at risk of losing. What do you want? And we had a really long conversation, and honestly now it's totally different. I think my communication changed, his then changed in response, and we've just kind of grown from there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I never thought that would happen. I know, right?
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing, isn't it? Like you end up doing things now, and you're like, I never would have been able to do that before. Never.
And one of the turning points in my own coaching experience, when I had the coaching, and it's what's created a lot of the lioness theme in my coaching work. I had to sit in a room for mediation, and I was absolutely terrified. Really, I knew I was going to cry. Did not want to cry in front of him. Didn't want to show fear or anything in front of him. And she said to me, Nikki, a lioness will do anything to protect her cubs. And that moment, it was just what am I doing? Thinking about me, right? This is what I've got to do. This is what I'm absolutely going to do. There is no question. I'm doing it. Off we go. And that has just grown and grown from there.
And that's that change in perspective. And that's why it's so important to have someone who can change your thinking.
Yes.
On something.
Yeah. And just open you up to thinking it. You know, you were talking before about, you know, things can change, everything can change if you let it, but the key thing is you have to want it. You have to want to change. You know, I see people every day who are complaining about things or not happy or unhappy, and you have a conversation, and very quickly you gauge whether are they willing to change it, or can they not see past the end of their own nose, they're not ready for it yet. You have to want it, and as soon as you want it, and as soon as you're willing to try something new and try a different way of thinking, that's when it changes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really, really good message for people, because it's kind of, if you don't want to change things, that's cool. Just accept your responsibility in that.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and it is that simple, because sometimes people don't want to change, and actually they realize, and this is what I did an episode on positive payback, you know, secondary gains, and kind of really digging into that, like, okay, if this isn't changing, what am I not seeing here? And quite often it's potential positives for staying where you are, and that's fine if that's the choice that you make, but just understanding that it is the choice that you make.
Yeah. And again, once you've consciously made that decision, everything gets easier.
Yeah Absolutely. So what would you say the biggest things that have changed for you are? Like, what are the biggest positives that have come out from the negative situation for you?
God, I don't know that I could narrow it down. There's so much. My whole life has changed. My whole life has changed. I've got a better relationship with my parents. I've got friends who are true, amazing. My best friend is more like my sister, and I would never have met her had it not been for everything that happened. And the people that come into my life now, I get to choose who stays, who goes. I don't try and fit in. I just gravitate to people, and they gravitate to me, and it's just, I have the most amazing circle of friends. And I've got my business. It's just, everything has changed. It's
like when you go through stuff like this and you do the work, you kind of you don't take any BS.
No.
Like your boundaries, your personal boundaries become so much stronger. You protect your energy so much more. There's just certain things you're like, no. That's not in my space. That's not for me. You do you over there. I don't need to judge you, but that's not for me.
Yes. Absolutely. There's no judgment of anything. It's just, it either works for me or it doesn't.
Yeah.
I like the way you call it boundaries. Boundaries are amazing, and it's something I go through with my clients. You know, you set your own boundaries. What are you willing to accept? What are you not willing to accept? I think lately I've kind of felt like my boundaries is my tolerance level, and my tolerance level is much, much lower recently for some reason. But it is about are you fulfilling me? Are you bringing something positive to my life, or are you not? If you're not, off you go. I wish you well, but yeah. Yeah.
But that's the thing, is you being how sometimes people fear letting people go. And this is something I've talked about this before. It's like there were certain friends that I had that were just completely out of line with, because, you know, you have them from a young age and your values change as you grow older. And there were certain friends that I'd kind of backed off from, essentially let go. Pretty much, I would say 90% of them have ended up coming back and being better friends now, because the way you behave will either send people away or it'll help them raise up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love your reaction as well, because these guys can't see your face, but like when I asked that question, you're like, oh my God, everything's so much better.
It has changed my life. My life is absolutely unrecognizable from going from a place of feeling just weak and incapable, and I couldn't make a decision. I had to go and buy a bed. Shortly after the separation, I had to go and buy a bed. It took me about 4 hours because I had no idea what I liked, what I wanted, not a clue. I had no opinions on anything. And going from that place of just feeling weak and useless and worthless to where I am now, I can achieve anything I want to, as long as I put my mind to it. That's it. Yeah. And to be able to give that to other people as well, and see that and be that life change for somebody else, is just not be that life change, facilitate that life change for somebody else. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And that's the thing with it. Decision making is actually one of the big things that people come to me for, because you're kind of like, you don't back yourself.
No.
And all this stuff builds up over the years, all this unconscious stuff, sludge sitting on the surface, that it means that you don't trust your own gut. You don't trust your own.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's kind of like getting people into a place where they trust themselves again.
Yeah. That for me took time. That took time. And I think probably because of some of the choices that I've still made over the last few years, choices to stick around certain people and wait for certain people, or wait for this or wait for that. And by making those choices, instead of trusting my own intuition, my own gut, my own, what do I need? That took a little bit longer for me. I'm pretty much there now. But again, we all have that. Is that my gut talking, or are you just being a negative Nelly? Yeah. What's going on here?
Yeah. And this is the thing, is so many people kind of focus on trying to, you can't see my inverted commas right now, but fix themselves.
Yes.
And it's understanding that you're not broken.
No.
A lot of it is just that you're not self-aware. And that's half the battle of making any changes, becoming aware of all of these things, how much of these stories are actually yours, how many of these beliefs are actually real and yours, and not from other people or parents or loved ones, or all of these things. And it's an amazing journey. And I had a conversation with someone the other day. They were like, right, this is the one thing that I need to go through. This is the last thing that I need to go through. I'm like, But that's the fun of it, is when you can understand, you're like, okay, well, that's not an issue anymore for me. And you'll go about your day, and then something else will crop up, because it's layers. It's like peeling an onion, isn't it? Like there's always something else to work on. Some things take longer than others, and it's the way it is. But that's what makes life rich. I think people are kind of in a race to be perfect, and it doesn't exist.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And like you say, as soon as you can realize that and just keep growing and keep moving and keep evolving, it's a really great ride. It's a really great journey to be on. And I think if we hadn't experienced those extreme lows, I do wonder, would I appreciate everything that I've got quite so much now?
Exactly. It's the law of polarity. To have the light, you have to have the dark. It's something that is part of life, and it's what makes it rich and interesting. We always strive for something that we think we want, when actually if we got there, we'd be pretty bored.
Yeah.
I don't know if did you watch The Good Place?
No, I haven't seen it. It's on my list.
I don't want to do any spoilers, so watch it. But one of the last episodes was absolutely brilliant because it kind of summed up a lot of that stuff. And you're like, you go after this utopia, and then you realise that this utopia isn't exactly what it's all cracked up to be.
No,
it doesn't exist.
No, we are constantly changing, and that's it. It's about what's next, and it's not about right. We'll skip bits to get to what's next. Yeah. It's about enjoy the journey. Yeah, exactly. Enjoy the ride along the way.
And every layer that you strip off, you've got to go through the sludge again. But then when that's gone, you're like, oh, and then things get even better. And every single layer that you strip off gets better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
But that's the fun stuff. Like I'm going through one at the moment, which I'll talk about once it is sorted. But it's something that I had no idea was an issue. Like literally none. Wasn't aware of it at all. And so when those come up, then you're kind of like, whoa, this is getting exciting now. Now I get it. I love it because it fascinates me. How we tick fascinates me. Yeah. So I'm genuinely not talking things down when I say like I love all the dark because it does allow you to have the light. Like all the negative things that have ever happened, I can look back at all of them with fondness now, whereas before it was like this big emotional tie, which is why I love NLP, because sometimes you can just break that emotional connection like that, and that's what's so amazing about it. So what do you think your key message to my glorious listeners would be if they're kind of in that position at the moment, they're looking at the negatives, they're in that moment where they feel like the worst thing has happened? What would you say to them?
If the worst thing that's happened, oh God, no, that's going to sound really trite. If the worst thing that's happened has happened, it can only get better. That's not what I want to say at all. I think it's going to only get better. I feel like there's a song in there somewhere. I think
it definitely is. Don't make it. I live my husband drives. I drive him mad because I live my life. Everything he says, and I'll come back with a song.
I feel like you should now.
Can only get better.
Love it. Everything will change the minute you want it to. Everything will change, and I never use the word promise unless I can guarantee it, and I promise you that. If it can change for me with the way that things just flipped right on their heads, you can achieve anything, believe me.
I love it. So where can people find you if they want to follow you, find out more about what you do?
So I am on Facebook as Nicky Booton Coaching. Instagram is NickyB_coaching. And I also have my Facebook community, Pride of the Rising Lioness, for other like-minded women who want to boost their self-esteem, go forward and shift things up in their business.
Yes. Well, Nicky is absolutely glorious. I can promise you that. She's an absolute joy to work with, absolute joy to be around. So please do make sure that you go follow her. And I have another few wonderful guests lining up. If any of you guys want to be interviewed, you just let me know. Let me know your feedback. Let Nicky know your feedback. Go follow us on Instagram and all that fun stuff. See, it can be good to slide into people's DMs, right?
It can be amazing to do it. You were on my wish list. This is what I want to achieve. I want to get on Fran's podcast, and just did it cheekily. It was not a professional pitch at all.
This is the other thing, like just a quick note on that. Like, it's about knowing your audience, and when I'm your audience, professional pitches actually tend to get ignored. When people are like, dude, I want to come on your podcast, here's why. I'm like, okay. And that's the thing, it's all about who you resonate with and what the intention is behind it and stuff like that. I get so many pitches from people who haven't ever listened before, and you're just like, well, no. So go with your gut. If it comes to you in a flash of inspiration, just do it. What's the worst?
If you want something, ask for it.
Yeah. Otherwise, how else are you going to get it?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for sharing your story. It's always difficult to talk through kind of the big raw stuff, so thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
as always, I will see you next week. So, if you got value from this and you know in your gut that now is the time to step up and start rewiring your thinking and changing things for yourself, then book in a free discovery call so we can work out what needs to happen to get you from where you're at right now to the action-taking success you know you can be. And if you want my eyes and ears on your problems, I work with people one-on-one and through my Proactive Pants Mastermind. So stop waiting for if and when and decide to change things now, because you can. And as always, I hope that was helpful. So any questions, just let me know. And as always, I will see you next week. Bye.